The thought for today's session then is front hand, underhand or overhand? Does it matter? What are the pros and cons? That's the discussion I'm going to be having with myself over the next few minutes. Thanks for joining me on this session today, where I'm once again on a 3.7 and an 82. This wind is relentless out here. And as I said in the intro, I'm going to have a little think about underhand versus overhand on the front hand. Pros and cons of different ones. But just before I get to that, thanks to all of you guys for clicking subscribe, for joining me on this, and a bunch of other videos that are flashing across the screen just now. I really appreciate the support and all the comments that are coming through, keeping me going to do these. So yeah, a bit of a thank you to start with. Alan, what's the good thing? What's the bad thing, underhand or overhand? The positives for underhand, I think I'll start with. I quite like it when I'm getting tired and it's a different muscle that gets used. It gives the usual windsurf muscle a bit of a break. Does something a little bit different. It's also quite nice for jumping sometimes. I didn't actually mention it in the jumping video. Links at the top of the screen right now. But it can help you get a bit more airtime by really lifting up through the mast. By really lifting up through the mast using that underhand front grip. That's a definite positive. Another big positive is if you're really powered up and trying to control that extra power, by having your front hand under grip, upside down front grip, allows you to use your biceps that little bit more. I'll try and show you this to the camera. I can use my front hand a little bit more to pull the rig towards me and depower. It's a quick way of depowering and shooting out there by pulling in that front hand. Using your guns, pulling the rig towards you. However, that can also be a negative. The reason it can be a negative is like right now, I'm a little bit underpowered and I've got an underhand front grip. I'm pulling down through the mast and I'm creating what is often misunderstood, mast foot pressure. It's a word I hate, if I'm honest. This is another debate for another film. But I have a lot of mast foot pressure right now. It's not helping me. If anything, it's pushing the board down into the water and it's not driving the power forwards. But I have mast foot pressure, so it's a good thing. Let's put mast foot pressure to one side. I could go on about that for hours. But in this marginal wind, if I turn my hand the other way up, I can now extend that arm, or I'm more likely to extend the arm and drive the board forwards and onto the plane. Usually, when people I see and coach have an underhand front grip, we pull it too much. We're using that depower trick I just mentioned a moment ago. It's depowering the sail every time. So if you've got an underhand front grip, make sure you're extending the arm like I am now, and it can still work. It's not a problem at all. Just careful not to accidentally start pulling that rig towards you, shooting out and depowering the sail. The other time I'm a bit of a fan of the underhand grip is exiting carve jibes. I'll try and find a clip or two to throw on the screen now of me coming around a carve jibe. As the rig flip comes around, because I'm super low, it's quite natural to grab the boom from the underneath. It's not something you have to do. If it's not something you're doing already, I wouldn't worry too much about doing it, but it's a definite positive of having that underhand front grip, is that you can catch the boom underhand, exiting a jibe, put the power back on, and then often just after that, I'll flip my hand back over again to stay efficient. Which links me into that, let's say, normal way up, knuckles up for the front hand, is a bit more efficient in general. I'm going to be in a much straighter stance, or more likely to be in a straighter stance. I'm more likely to be pushing the boom away from me with my front hand here, shooting in and working together with the backhand. Generally a little bit more efficient. And like I am just now, I'm only just powered up. Say that as a gust hits me. I'm only just powered up, and I'm pushing that front hand that way. That front hand is going that way to power me up. Much harder to do with an underarm grip. I think the summary for overhand, underhand, if they both work, as long as you understand and can be aware of their pros and cons. Most of the time I'll use a knuckles up grip. I'll use the underhand if I'm really powered up and need to depower a lot, and I'll probably use it exiting a jibe quite a lot. To be honest, with this and a lot of the videos that I'm making at the moment, I just want to have an unconscious thought or a habit that you're in just being brought to the front of your mind, so that you make considerations about what you're doing and why you're doing it and how it affects the kit and the way that you're sailing, rather than just autonomously doing something and not really sure why. Let's have a think about what's going on and how it affects the board and the sail and the trim and everything else going on. Once we're more consciously aware of what we're doing, we can then start making some decisions about how to improve them or keep them the same if they are working. There you have it. I think that's enough thoughts from me. I'm interested to know what you guys think. Stick some comments in the boxes just below this. Make sure you've hit subscribe if you haven't already, and share these amongst your friends. And I'll keep making them for as long as you guys are giving me such positive feedback. So thanks again.